she had worked all the COVID crisis with risk, and she threw, because she's disgusted with everything she heard about the crisis. She made something she didn't have to make. It's throwing a little stone on a helm where you see there are soldiers in front of them, and you of course you can react and arrest her. But why do you have to do such a big violence?
Dr. Nakash, I think you formulated quite well. The question is about not whether there is the law. The question is, what is the proportionate use of force when you are in a situation that is at this? And that is not a legal question. That's a question of living together and of defining standards about how you, as a government or as a state, you react to something that in very profound sense is perceived as legitimate by many people. And so I think I personally think it's a very unnecessary use of force, because it can't be that difficult to identify that a 1.55 meter nurse in medical gear is not a extremist black bloc left-wing anarchist that is about to go and burn half of Paris. I think it's the problem is, what is the situation we then put policemen in so that they can't make the proper judgment, which is, in that situation, a leader of this group should make this judgment, and it's not happening. And I think it points to overall what I think the biggest problem with this crisis, and now that we're trying to understand it, is I think apart from individual failures, there is a systemic failure. There's a systemic failure about how the different levels of government work, who does what at what level. And so people are, on the one hand, infantilized, and then at the same time they're being brandished, etc. And that just is not coherent. And I think, I don't think that the law pursuits will bring light to this, nor the fact that the government just throws more money at the problem. I think there needs to be a questioning about why the system failed.
Why the system failed. I want to get back to it, but first I want to ask Chris more at this point. Chris, what was your feeling? Because we had peaceful marches the same day in other cities in France. What was your feeling during that Paris demonstration?
Well, it was quite a big demonstration to start off with, and there were several different stories that went on within it. Really, the images that you've just been broadcasting there and other ones of clashes between the riot police and protesters. Obviously, they're always going to be the ones that make the headlines, but they kind of happen really on the fringe of it. Often violence kicks off at the end of these demonstrations, and there are a lot of demonstrations here in the French capital. I've covered probably dozens, even hundreds of them over the years. This time it was kind of an advanced party, it seems, which was the spark which set this off, and you've seen how the police reacted there. The vast majority of the demonstration was simply healthcare workers demanding better rights, demanding more staff be hired, demanding better equipment, and the thanks they received during the COVID crisis for their work on the front line not be forgotten. I should point out that all of this actually goes back pre-COVID as well. I mean, there have been
I was going to say, Chris, because you covered demonstrations of healthcare workers. We didn't call them essential workers yet, just a few months ago.
That's right. Yes, it was going on for months, even a year or so before the COVID crisis. And the complaints were the same, namely that the government, and not just the Macron government, but those that went before it, have been slowly chipping away at the resources available to public hospitals here in France. They called the alarm bell, saying that the sector was already in crisis before the pandemic hit.